This wasn't going to be the video for this weekend, but I was rereading some parts of the manga and I realized there's a lot we can talk about regarding this side of Ricardo Martinez that we still don't know. So let's discuss certain aspects that have been mentioned in the manga that might help us understand a bit more about the real style and personality of the featherweight world champion. Let's begin. The first glimpse we got in the story of Ricardo Martinez's personality and style was during his fight against Eiji Da-te. Let's remember that the Japanese boxer had already faced Ricardo in the past and had taken a beating. He was knocked out in the second round. Ricardo thought he'd be able to knock him out again in the same round, but when that didn't happen, he took Da-te very seriously, unleashing something even his own corner hadn't seen in a long time, a boxing style that was erratic, violent, yet effective. Very powerful punches from all directions, something that even reminds me of a boxer like Takamura, who throws extremely strong punches, but still deadly, targeting vital points needed to knock you out. And speaking of Takamura, even Mamoru was very surprised by this side of Ricardo Martinez because he didn't expect it and it wasn't something easy to read either. But can we really say that Ricardo Martinez revealed all his hidden weapons and his original personality against Da-te? Honestly, I'd say no. We didn't see a noticeable change in Ricardo's expression like the one we'll see later on. You could say he didn't fully let loose, he just took Da-te seriously. Also, at the end of the fight, before knocking him out, he started to worry about Da-te. He was aware that if he kept delivering that kind of beating, some kind of tragedy could happen. And that made him hesitate at times, even take a few hits. And to understand this better, we have to travel far into the future, to the appearance of the Mexican boxer named Alfredo Gonzalez. This character was introduced as a fighter who copies Ricardo Martinez's style, but with one big difference. His real style and personality aren't calm and elegant like Ricardo's. Instead, inside him lives a very violent spirit. This was something everyone could see clearly. Even when Eiji Da-te was asked about Alfredo, he noticed there was something hidden. He described him as having an elegant, textbook style like Miyata's, but with a wild, instinctive part inside like Takeshi Sendo. A curious mix of personalities and, of course, of styles. So both in the fandom and in the story itself, Alfredo was always portrayed as an inferior version of Ricardo since he was just copying his style, but at times he would let his true personality come out, one he called Metzli, a personality that actually put him at a disadvantage because it made him drop his guard even though his attack power increased a lot. However, after his fight against Ippo, he managed to control his emotions much better and stop neglecting his defense. This makes me think that maybe Alfredo Gonzalez wasn't just a character who copied Ricardo's style, but a direct parallel to who Ricardo really is. An extremely elegant boxer, but one who hides inside him a violent and bloodthirsty style. And this is actually confirmed by Alfredo himself, because he describes Ricardo's true face as someone cold-blooded, literally a son of a bitch who can knock you out without hesitation, without even caring about what could happen to his opponent. And just to be clear, this is not a line I'm making up. This is exactly how Alfredo remembers his second fight against Ricardo Martinez, and we have to keep this in mind. As I mentioned earlier, in his fight against Eiji Da-te, Ricardo did show concern for his opponent, but based on what Alfredo says, that would be a contradiction, which tells us clearly that during his fight with Da-te, Ricardo wasn't showing his true personality. Also, after all these reflections from Alfredo, he kept repeating to himself that he couldn't let Ippo face Ricardo. Why? Well, Alfredo never said it directly, but to me, it's more than clear that he was afraid something tragic might happen. What bothered him most about Ippo and what made him so impatient was how resistant Ippo was to punches. More than just resistance, it was the fact that he never gave up and kept going no matter how much punishment he took. And if Alfredo really cared about Ippo's health, which we saw after their fight ended, when even his own second had to tell him it wasn't his fault, that it was just what he had to do, then it's clear to me that for Alfredo, someone like Ippo, who can take an endless beating, would be in serious danger against Ricardo's true personality. Now, before getting into Ricardo's fight with Wally, I want to share a quick personal reflection. Alfredo's coach admitted, while his fighter was facing Ippo, that he had forced Alfredo to copy Ricardo's style, because boxing in such a correct, orthodox, elegant way allowed him to keep his true personality in check. That makes me think maybe something similar happened with Ricardo. Maybe he hides his true style behind elegant boxing. Maybe he forces himself to fight in this ideal way all the time. And one piece of evidence we might have is Ricardo Martinez's record, more than 70 victories, completely undefeated. And despite seeing how he's able to beat world-class fighters in a single round and humiliate others, he has victories by decision. Something that feels a bit inconsistent. How is it that Ricardo, being so strong and having faced such high-level boxers, ended up going to the judges? That makes me think that maybe, more than once, his corner forced him to hold back and fight as calmly as possible. I wouldn't even rule out the idea that early in his career, Ricardo Martinez caused a tragedy in the ring, maybe during his beginnings, and that he was forced to control himself and change to a more orthodox style, just like Alfredo had to. Now we can finally move on to Ricardo's fight against Wally. You could say this was the first opponent who truly put Ricardo in trouble. And even so, the champion acted calmly and rationally with extremely technical boxing through almost the entire fight, but something clicked in his mind. Something made him change from one moment to the next. Was it Wally's unexpected punch, the Sendo-style smash? Was it the pressure he felt, or maybe he felt in danger and let out all his killer instincts, so to speak? At the moment, Ricardo's expression changed and he went on to knock Wally out. Alfredo's words came straight to my mind again. Ricardo is capable of finishing you without hesitation. And if we keep those words in mind, Ricardo didn't just land a blow that put Wally on his knees, he followed it up with another. Was that second punch really necessary? In my opinion, one punch was enough to secure the win, but that wild, bloodthirsty spirit inside him didn't let him stop. He just wanted to bury his opponent. So what does that mean? What truly lies beneath Ricardo's personality? I'm not here to give you a definitive answer in this video, but just some reflections we've talked about. I'd love for you to tell me what you think in the comments. What are your conclusions after everything we've discussed? Good night, champ!